You are listening to the Danger Tapes podcast with your host, Devin Ramos.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Danger Tapes podcast. My name is Devin Ramos. And this week, I am pretty much starting off by saying I have deleted my Twitter. With the exception of the Danger Tapes Twitter. Naturally, because then I wouldn't have a way to tweet this out. I've actually deleted my entire Twitter profile. It was something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I finally did it. Had a few drinks last night, decided, you know what, it's time. But I did download my entire timeline profile, all 14,000 plus tweets. And that was a big factor in helping me decide on deleting that stupid thing, because since I started tweeting in 2008, a lot of my tweets are really the same. I talk about eating food, I talk about being annoyed with people, and nothing's changed in the last 7 years. So I figured it was time for an actual change to the way I do things. I still have a Facebook, still have an Instagram, but other than that, yeah, I really, really loved Twitter. I still do. I think what's happened, though, and I just kind of get tired. Get tired of the circle jerk on there. Everybody jerking each other off. This false idea that because you follow a celebrity, you have this relationship with them. And, sometimes that's the case, and sometimes it isn't. And that is very tiresome to me. The shit talking on there, the bad jokes whenever there's an Emmys or an Oscars or a Super Bowl, whatever, this big event that everybody's watching at the same time. It's all these bad jokes. And I'm guilty of it too. I've written bad jokes in my lifetime. And I say a lot of bad jokes in real life, but I've definitely written a few bad jokes on Twitter. And I'm over it. I really am over it. When I did hit the deactivate button, it's not even delete, but deactivate, Twitter did say that I have 30 days to decide on whether or not I want to deactivate it permanently or not. Otherwise, it's gone forever. But, I kind of am a believer in destroying something and starting anew. And I find that that's going to be a really good way for me to do it creatively. Because I think last week I can't even remember if I said it on the podcast, but I do remember mentioning that I've just been in this creative slump, and me not doing the podcast is definitely something I don't want to do. I want to continue on with it, and I've always been writing, I've always been doing certain things, but I feel like Twitter has just sucked up so much of my time in these last several years. When you download the Twitter timeline, your entire Twitter timeline, it tells you exactly how much you've been tweeting throughout the months of every year. And, it kind of spiked up once I started this podcast. So it really begged me to ask the question, how much of my time am I actually devoting to a platform that hasn't really given me much return in the last few years? When I started the podcast, I was getting really good return. And granted, that could have been because I was doing a lot more interviews. And I think it was really, really around this time when there was this spike in creativity and a movement in, I hate to say it because sometimes it just sounds so corny, but in the Inland Empire, there was just this spike of creativity in music, in art, and everything. And it kind of floundered off. Definitely there's still people doing it. Don't get me wrong. There's still people in the game. And the people that are in the game have become formidable, and they've become tougher, and they understand it a little bit more. But I don't see the spike. I don't see it anymore. There was new people all the time. I don't see it anymore. It plateaued. And, it's just, you're tweeting and you're doing things for the same audience, and at a certain point, I realized that I need to branch out and find a new way to do things. So I'm done with it. No more Twitter, at least for myself. No personal Twitter. The Danger Tapes Twitter has always been a thing of business, I guess, in that I just pretty much just tweet out, the podcasts and anybody else's podcast as well. So that's still around if you want to follow me on there, but I won't be writing as much tweets on that. It just exists for this purpose. Otherwise, moving along here, I have got my hands on the crown jewel. I'm convinced it is the crown jewel of my collection, my record collection, that is. And it is probably the reason why I've put so much time and effort into curating a record collection, into gathering the necessary components so that my audio system sounds just so pristine. And it finally hit me yesterday when it came in the mail. I was listening to it. I'm going to get into what exactly I'm talking about right now. I'm going to give you the title. This is the build-up. I was listening to it. I was sitting in my underwear on my couch. So I was so excited that it came in. Straight from Amazon, onto my front porch. Opened the box. Beautiful packaging. Beautiful packaging. And I'll get into that in a second. And I'm listening to it. And then I just hear these dynamic sounds all throughout the third part of a 3-piece album. And I was texting on my phone, trying to figure out what I was going to eat. And it actually made me look up because I was so surprised. I did not expect to hear that. I didn't even know my speakers were capable of that. And it really made a difference in just how well mastered this album is. The album I'm talking about, of course, is Kamasi Washington's The Epic. And The Epic was released in on streaming platforms a couple months ago. And I believe in CD format. But I fucking knew when it was released that it was going to be released on vinyl. And I knew that I needed to have it. So I skipped out on the CD. Even though I really wanted this album. I really wanted a hard copy of this album. I skipped out on the CD. Excuse me. I listened to the digital format a lot. I streamed it a lot. It's really good. But I knew it was coming, and it was announced last month. I pre-ordered it. I was so excited. So excited. The only album I'm not even more excited for it, but just as excited for, is Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly, because I know that's going to be a really good release as well. But I'm trying to curate, I'm trying to amass a nice jazz collection. I wanted this in my collection. And it came in. Again, beautiful packaging, beautiful album artwork. And there was a few pieces inside that really were like, wow, like Brain Feeder as a label not only knows how to curate great talent, but they know how to piece together a really, really fine album. They don't fuck around. And there's very few labels out there that are doing the same thing as far as making great releases. You could get a really, let's say Kanye's album drops tomorrow. And better yet, Kendrick Lamar's album comes out on vinyl in a few weeks. I strongly believe that presentation of that album in the vinyl format is not going to be as strong as Kamasi Washington's The Epic. Reason being, I just feel like Brain Feeder, Stone's Throw, and there's maybe not even a lot, maybe just like a handful of indie labels that really understand what people want when they buy a vinyl album. And I got it. I mean, I think my excitement for this release is on the level of, I think Flying Lotus's You're Dead on vinyl. because of just the presentation, the artwork that came with it, beautiful animations, and it was really overwhelming. And I've seen a few pictures of the Epic on Instagram, and I've seen a few pictures on Reddit, and I was ready for it. I really was, and I wasn't sure. This is what I was really, really impressed by. Was that I didn't know if the album I was going to get was like a special edition or something. A lot of times they'll do that. They did that with You're Dead, in which the album that was released was a general release, and it was really nice. I got the general release of it. That's the one with all the nice artwork. But there was like a box set, a black box set for You're Dead, and it was like $60. Retail, not even not even from a reseller, like retail, like it was $60. It was nice, really nice. So I was hoping that the Epic wasn't going to have that sort of pricing tier. I was hoping that it was all in one thing, and they really, really, really put in a lot of effort into making it into a good package. I'm impressed so far, and this is what makes me so excited. So far, I've only listened to part 3. It's a 3-part album. It doesn't all mesh together. There are various sounds, different styles. It's a 3-part album. I'm very excited to listen because I only listened to part 3. A lot of people say you can listen to any part. There's no continuity, and you're going to enjoy it either way. So I listened to part 3 yesterday, and my God, I cannot wait to listen to part 1, part 2, and part 3 again, because I'm going to listen to every one of those fucking parts over and over again. I'm really, really excited about that album. If you haven't listened to it, like it's a really, really solid jazz album. If you think of jazz in your head and what you think jazz sounds like and what you could potentially enjoy from jazz, Kamasi Washington's The Epic is it for contemporary jazz. I'd really love to get not stronger, but a more vast record collection of jazz. And every time I go to Amoeba, I do hit the discount jazz, and I kind of go through there and I see what they have, and I kind of have to pick and choose a little bit because I'm not very familiar with jazz names and of yesteryear, and I'd like to know a little bit more. So every time I go there, I've had some pretty good luck over the past year in getting fine albums from Amoeba, and I'm really this album, The Epic, really makes me excited to keep getting more jazz albums because there's so much. You can always hear something new, and it's gonna be fun. Going on with the topic of record collecting and my turntable, I did something. I talk about records all the time. I talk about music all the time with people. I've done something that was so dumb over the past several years. It was such a simple mistake. And I just recently figured it out. So when you get a turntable, everybody just thinks, oh, I get a turntable and hook it up to, some speakers. No, it's a process. There was a cartoon in the New Yorker a couple months ago that sort of defined what it is to collect records. And the punchline of it was that and the guy that was talking in the cartoon strip, everybody knows New Yorker cartoons, said, I've recently started collecting vinyl because it's somewhat of an inconvenience and so forth. It is a big inconvenience to collect records. That's why I don't push it on anybody, because it's not only inconvenient to start, just to listen to music, especially with Apple Music and Spotify. Just to listen to music, it's not an ideal way. It's kind of a headache. So I don't recommend it to people just because it's quite a bit of money to get something decent, like just something that works well. Costs quite a bit of money. B, costs quite a bit of money to buy records, new records that people actually like, want. I mean, of course, there's thousands of great classic albums that you could get on vinyl for relatively cheap, but if you want something new, if you want Kendrick Lamar or The Epic, like those are $40 albums. Like, people can't swing that. Myself, it's debatable. There's probably times I shouldn't be buying sets like The Epic, and I do, and I regret it because I'm a little bit broke. And you buy 10 of those albums and you've already spent $400 for the whole year. Like, that's way more money than most people want to spend on music. That's why the industry is fucking failing. So it is inconvenient, it's expensive. And 3, it's hard to know where to start, So I think when I started, I just thought, gosh, I'd buy a turntable. I got some cheap speakers from the thrift store. Somebody told me they were trash. I ended up giving them away. And then it kept going from there. And then I figured out, like, oh, I need a preamp because the amplifier that I have is not loud enough and it doesn't work with these speakers. I buy a preamp and the speakers are really distorted. I get rid of the speakers for better speakers. And, oh, guess what? My preamp doesn't really work that well with this. Oh, guess what? My amplifier doesn't really work that well with it. Get rid of the amplifier, get a vintage amplifier that kind of works with it some of the time. Oh, guess what? This only works kind of some of the time. So let me get something a little bit more dedicated. I get something more dedicated. Oh, shit, the fucking preamp went out, and so forth. So recently, I have an Audio-Technica LP120 turntable. There's 3 different models of this. I have the second-tiered model, I believe. There's an LP60, an LP120, and there's one above mine. I can't remember what it's called. So I'm reading about it, a little bummed out because I can't play records the way I want to. My preamp's not working. It's just distorted. Fucking sucks. So I'm reading about it. I really love this turntable. Don't want to get rid of it. And I know in my heart it's the fucking preamp. I'm reading about it, and someone writes in a message board that the LP120 actually has a preamp pre-installed on it. I never even considered that it probably did. I jump up from my seat. I look on the bottom side of the LP120, and sure enough, there's a switch. I flick it on for the preamp. I tear that piece of shit preamp out, throw it in the trash because it doesn't work anymore, and I throw on, I believe I put on a Miles Davis record, and it sounded sweet, better than I've ever heard this turntable. And I got really excited. And I think, I am so fucking dumb. How did I not know? How did I not know this was a feature in a turntable that I spent a good chunk of my tax return on when I actually bought it? How did I not know? How did I not read into that? And it came back to me that I'm stupid. That's the only conclusion I could come up with. I am stupid, and I should have read into that, and I should have known. Instead of having to buy another preamp, I could have saved $14 and bought another album. But I guess that's how it goes, man. I guess that's how it goes. Let's see. Movies that I've seen. I've actually went to the movies a lot this week. First, I went on Tuesday. I saw Black Mass. Black Mass. It was okay. It was pretty good. I really feel like Black Mass could have been 20 minutes shorter. This is like always one of my main complaints. The movies are just too long. It wasn't that it was bad. It was okay. It was good. It was still, functional as a film. But I started to fall asleep. And I just felt like it could have been shorter. I don't know how they would have fit it into the story. That's their job as filmmakers. They need to figure that out. But it was okay though. I enjoyed Johnny Depp as Whitey Bulger. I enjoyed seeing, that dude from Breaking Bad, the one that everybody hated and despised. Who else did I really enjoy in that movie? The dude that Conan O'Brien is saying looks like him. One of the main dudes. I can't remember his name. Everybody was pretty good in that movie. Everybody really was pretty good in that movie. Solid acting. Oh, I enjoyed the dude from The Imitation Game. Can't remember his name. The dude that's going to end up being Doctor Strange. He was good in it too. Glad I saw it on Discount Tuesday though. It was a $5 movie. The second movie I saw this week was The Martian. And I've been anticipating The Martian. I've been following a few podcasts in which they've talked to the author of the book. And I really didn't know a lot about it other than the fact that the guy gets stuck on Mars for a really long time. That's all I knew about it. Didn't see any previews. You know me, I don't watch previews. And I genuinely liked it. It was a good movie. I think I would have watched. See, here's the thing. Here's how I contradict myself all the time with this time shit. I probably would have watched another 20 minutes of it. I think it was. Matt Damon was really good in it. Even though I feel like there was, everything was kind of hunky-dory for him. Maybe that's how it is in the book. I want to get around to reading the book, but everything was really just, oh, okay. Like, this is just something I could do and not worry about. Maybe it was because he had training from NASA. Maybe that's why. But one thing that I really did enjoy that I thought I probably wouldn't have enjoyed as much was the fact that they actually showed what was going on Earth. With all the politics behind NASA, the problem solving, the joining of forces of space programs between China and the United States. I thought that was really cool. That was a really cool aspect of the film. Great cinematography. It's a fun movie to watch. There's danger in it. There's humor. The acting is good. The chick from *Halt and Catch Fire*, the main chick, not the wife. I forgot her name. The thin one, like the really, really rail thin one. It's actually kind of hot too. She was in that movie. She was really good. I couldn't almost place it that was her because I was like, wow, fuck, who is that? Where do I know her from? I just fucking finished watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, and here she is in this really big movie. She was good in it. I liked her. Childish Gambino was in it too. It's pretty good. It's a solid movie. Really solid movie. Really fun. You could go with anybody to watch it. I've heard it described as Castaway on Mars. Yeah, kinda. No Wilson, but it's fun. It's a fun movie. Fun, good. You'll enjoy it. There's happy parts. There's dark parts. There's parts that make you think about science. I mean, it's what a movie should be. Today was the one I was really excited for. With these Fathom events, they bring in older films. At the end of this month, they're bringing in Back to the Future, the entire trilogy. But today I saw The Iron Giant on the silver screen, and it was glorious. I was really surprised at how many people were there. And, there wasn't a lot. It wasn't opening day of the Avengers a lot. It was, more than you would normally see on a Sunday morning. More than you would usually see. Fathom events don't cost regular matinee price. You have to pay $11.50 to see these movies. I was kind of surprised how many people brought their kids because there was a lot of people in there. That's a $50 event for a Sunday morning. You could have went to church and spent $20 on offering and bought a 50-cent donut. But yeah, The Iron Giant, if you haven't seen it, it's an animated movie that was made, I can't remember how many years ago, but probably one of the last animated films, like 2D animated films that ended up being really good. And I ended up seeing it like a couple years after it already came out. But geez, like, I'm glad I was able to catch it on the big screen, because it's one of those things where you sometimes you catch these classic movies. Like I caught The Iron Giant, or like I saw Star Wars and Indiana Jones on DVD on a 20-inch screen, and these movies were made for these big screens. Not like XD size, but they were made for, a theater. They were meant to be viewed on a theater. Even a 2D short. I grew up watching cartoons on a TV, but a 2D movie like this was made for the big screen. And I cried. I cried in all the right parts. I cried towards the end. I cried at the end. It's a big tear rolling down my cheek because I didn't want to touch it and let people know that I was crying in the theater, even though they probably didn't see me. Like, it's a tearjerker, man. It really is. I mean, I really hope everybody goes out and watches The Iron Giant. It's like I said, it's just one of those animated movies that it was made towards the beginning of the era in which 3D animation was taking over. And, I don't hate 3D animation. I mean, I kind of hate DreamWorks as an animation company, but they don't make them like that anymore. Like, I sound like an old man saying that. Like, they really don't make animated films like that anymore. It's too much money, too much time. You can't hate. And I was like, I was ecstatic that they brought that back into the theaters. I had to see it. I had to. And I'm glad I went to go see it. I finally, witnessed it. The sound in it. The sound was so good. The remaster was just phenomenal. If you ever see, like, they're showing, like, the old favorites, like, on the big screen, like, go see it. Yeah, it's $12, but it's worth it. You'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate your favorites that much more. Like, it's a dying platform, kind of. I think they're going to figure out how to keep it alive. I'm really hoping. But until then, that's it for the podcast, you guys. Again, I deleted my Twitter. It's gone. Follow the Danger Tapes on Twitter. And I'm on Facebook. If you really need to get a hold of me, like, most of the people that listen to this podcast, like, they have my number. There's not a lot of new people listening to this podcast. That's how it goes. So if you need to get a hold of me, text me. For all other Danger Tapes stuff, follow the Danger Tapes on Twitter. And thank you guys for listening. Have a great week. Catch you guys again next Monday. Peace.
Yo, I cook that right up in my basement. Make your bitch go ape shit while you be feeling bacon. I'm a sex pistol boy, bang my bullet into who I want. Who's dirty, rotten, dirty, vicious. If a punk wanna start him up, ooh fuck, I love to run him up. That's why in school I always flunk, but now my job's to stand in front of a packed ass and make them jump. Like I be crisscross, like I'm House of Pain, like Busta Rhymes, like DJ Cool. Y'all motherfuckers didn't know me, then I'm gonna show you how I overrule. On point like that damn decimal. Why I'm grabbing on my genitals against bitch that fucking edible. So I fit this will get flexible. I got what you want, I got what you need. So let's begin this stampede. When we playing Jumanji, nah, I just smoke too much weed. I love to get higher, oh I can be your supplier. See, I got what you require when it comes to your desire. I'll be the hyper nice alive wire. Power voice like when you quiet, fresh attire. I'm like bring your tires, bring the fucking fire. I bring the fucking fire. shit, always let loose to the belt fit. I spit that lava witch, but another rapper like the wicked witch. Send a rich girl to the baddest bitch, make her suck dick in a nurse outfit. Who's this shit? See these lames all sound the same. What do they hope to attain? Biting, training, biting, wang. By anyone with current fame, but the thing about me, I'm original. And for this rap scene, yeah, that's a miracle. And all this fucking hate it, but I'm a pinnacle. The love they'll give us